Hello everyone and good evening. I'm happy to be sitting here with the Honorable Camille Banks Payne, District Court Judge for Forsyth County. We are so glad that you have graciously decided to grant this interview to us for our class project, the subject of which is what is success. The goal of this interview is to explore the meaning of success through the example of a person our group deems successful. And obviously we've chosen you for that honor today. And so we're just going to begin by asking you some questions and just giving you a chance to give us your feedback and what you feel success is. Our first question is, when thinking about success, how would you describe it?
Okay, for me, success on a personal level has been fulfilling my life's destiny and purpose. And a lot of people see success as how much money you make or how popular you are, or how much material wealth you can accumulate. But for me, it's been more of, did I choose a career path that embraces my natural gifts and talents? And the answer for me was yes. And so I think I've been successful in that way. So far, my career has been successful because it's been fulfilling. I really enjoy what I do. I majored in social work, and I do have an undergraduate degree in social work. And most of what I do, even as a judge, requires that I use those skills that I learned as a social work major. So again, I say that being successful on a personal level is being able to fulfill your life's purpose through your vocation.
Who would you say was or is the most influential person in your life?
It was and is my grandmother. And I would say that because as a child, I knew that I wanted to be an attorney. And I discovered that or proclaimed that when I was just 10 years old. And unlike many of my colleagues, there were no attorneys in my family. I didn't know any attorneys personally. I had only seen some on television, and so that's what inspired the dream in the beginning. But then it was my grandmother who always cultivated the dream and always told me how smart I was, even though there were people who were saying things to the contrary. And she's just kind of been my biggest cheerleader, even now. She has been that way all of my life, and even now she's 82 years old. And I feel so blessed that she's lived to see me finish college, finish law school, and then ultimately become a district court judge. So there's no one that can top her when it comes to being the most influential person. And she does not have any education beyond high school, but she just comes from an era where the opportunity to make it to the heights that I have made it were not available in her day. And so for her to push me the way she did, I really appreciate it, and I give her a lot of credit for me being where I am and actually sustaining me, because it's still some days where I'm discouraged, and she is the person, if I'm discouraged, that I will call. And every time I talk to her, it's always better.
Well, anyone who looks at this interview can clearly see that you've reached this level of success at a young age. You mind telling us what your age is?
Yes, I'm 37 now, but when I was appointed to the bench by the governor, who at that time was Governor Michael Easley, I was 32. So my colleagues, all of them, well actually when I started, all of them were really old enough to be my parents. So there's a huge gap age-wise. But whereas some people saw that as a reason why I may not have been a good candidate for the position, I saw it as a reason why I would be, for a number of reasons. Many of the people who come before me are young people, and they're in a different culture, and there's some different things that they are dealing with than some of my colleagues may even be able to relate to or be familiar with. So I knew that I would be able to connect on that level and be able to render decisions that would address their particular issues effectively.
Growing up with your grandmother in your life and being so close to her and her giving you so much positive reinforcement, what point in your life would you say was a turning point?
College was a turning point for me because it was at that point where I knew it was either do or die. I had to do it. I had one shot to, and I knew when I stepped foot on the college campus, my goal was to get to law school. So I didn't have time to play around in college. And then the same thing when I got to law school, I knew I had to be about my business because it's so demanding in terms of what's expected of you academically, but then financially the monies that you have to spend in order to get there. I knew I've always wanted to be an attorney, so what I've always done is kind of kept my eye on the prize. If you say that that wall clock back there is the prize, for me, I was just looking directly at that. And so there were things that came into my path and in my life along the way, but I just kept my eye on that particular goal.
We go through trials and tribulations in our life. No road to success is smooth.
No.
It has rocky points. So what would you say has been the biggest setback for you, and how did you handle it, if there were any?
To be honest, I do not know of any setbacks. I know of some life challenges that we all have, and what you have to do is work through those. But I don't. My career has been upwardly mobile since it got started, because I graduated from high school and then I went to college for the 4 years that I was there, and then law school is generally 3 years. I finished in 3 years. I passed the bar. I started working. I worked as an attorney for 6 years, and then I was appointed to the bench. So I haven't had any career setbacks at all. But I've had many challenges, but the challenges are just the way it is, and it's another way that I'm able to connect with the public to let them know, listen, life is full of challenges, but you've got to learn how to adjust and maneuver and still set goals and seek to achieve those.
Okay. What is something unexpected your success has brought you?
You know, I've pondered that, and I can't really think of any unexpected things, because a lot of, well, I take that back. I did have, a lot of what I do is on the job training when you first take the job, and I did not know how I would be received by the public, by my colleagues, by the attorneys, and so I had to make some adjustments once I was here. A lot of the things that came up, there were issues with the public. Sometimes they treated me differently than I think they would have treated my colleagues because of my age. I think had a lot to do with it. And so I had to, whereas when I was a public defender, I was an advocate, and I was a very fierce advocate. But now I've taken the position as a judge, and so that's neutral. I can't take a side at all. I've got to be neutral and detached, and so that's been an adjustment. But it wasn't a rough adjustment, but it was an adjustment, and you have expectations, but you really don't understand how it's going to play out until you actually own the job. So the expectations or the things that have happened are not things that I would say I didn't necessarily expect, because I knew that there would be some type of adjustment. So there's been nothing that I would think that I would label as unexpected, but just like I said, an adjustment.
Since you've become a judge, that has given you access to people who you may not have come in contact with before?
Yes, and when I originally sought this position, part of my platform was being able to reach the young people in this community, and that's what this job has done, because there are only 10 district court judges, and so the public is aware of who we are, and what it has caused is for certain people to take notice of me, and then they call me, and then I can go to churches and schools and the Y and the Girls and Boys Club in areas and places in agencies like that and speak to young people, and I really have a passion for that. So those are people I may never have met had I not had this position, which put me in a place where the right people could take notice of me and then invite me in to talk to those people. But on the flip side of that, it has also helped me to meet other people that are in leadership and in government that I otherwise may not have met.
So would you say going and talking to the youth a lot is your way of giving back to the community?
Yes, that's a big deal to me because had it not been for people giving back to the community, I would never have made it. Like I said, I didn't have any money. I did not have any political ties, no attorneys in my family, but there were people in this community, some of my teachers, some of the people who work right at this courthouse who recognized the talent, and they helped to propel me or told me a story or something that just inspired me. So I try to do the same thing in this community. And if I'm available, the answer is always yes. I will come and speak to your Sunday school class, or yes, I will come and speak to your girls group, or whatever it may be, at-risk boys groups and boys at risk for gang activity. Any of that are things that I contribute to this community.
We know everyone has goals, and of course you've achieved a great deal of yours at a young age already. Have your goals changed over time?
Yes, as I've gotten older and my life circumstances have changed, yes, some of my goals have changed. Originally, when I finished law school, or when I was in law school, I thought that after practicing I would want to become a legislator. So either at the state level or at the national level. But after I began practicing law, I changed my mind and wanted to become a part of the judiciary. And the reason that I opted for that is that I saw the need in this community. We do have, at the time where I was practicing, there were 9 district court seats and only 1 was held by an African American person. But our community does not look like that, and so I felt it necessary that we have more minority representation on our bench to better reflect the way the community appears. And I thought I would do an effective job, and that is why I changed my mind and decided to pursue a position on the district court bench. And this is a decision that I have not regretted.
Is there a goal that you've had in the last 10 years that you feel you haven't attained? Or
No, there's nothing yet that I've wanted and pursued from a career standpoint that I've not attained. Now, obviously, I don't believe that this is it for me. I think there will be something else, but for the time being, this is the right position for me. I believe I'm effective. I have a passion for what I do, and I think that those are 2 things that are critical when you hold a position like the one.
our last question, and we kind of touched on a little bit the previous couple of questions, was about your goals. Now, you obviously have attained where you wanted to be right now. Looking ahead over the next 10 years, have you pondered or thought about, you said you know they're going to change, but do you have anything specific that you can name, something that you're striving for in the next 10 years?
Right now, I know that what I'm doing is what I'm supposed to be doing. I do want other opportunities, and I know those doors will open. My faith has been what has kind of led me the whole way. I've had a prompting when it was time for me to move out of one position and into another. And that has been the case since when I graduated. I worked for a private firm for a little over a year, and then our public defender's office was established. I knew that that's what I needed to move into. And then while I was a public defender, the legislature created the seat that I now hold. And I knew at that time that it was time for me to move. And so I feel like while I'm doing this, something will come up, another opportunity will come up that will be something that's attractive to me, and I will move into that. But until then, I think it's important that I focus on what I'm doing now and try to do it to the best of my abilities. I also have 2 small children, and so I have goals for them to get the best education that they can get, and see my example and pursue all the opportunities that they can pursue as they grow. So in the next 10 years, my children will be teenagers, and so I have got a lot to do between now and 10 years.
All right. Thank you.